Welcome, this is Loli. Today I'm sharing a compilation of my favorite Valentine's Day home decor DIYs. These projects are simple, fun, and perfect for adding a touch of love to your space. Let's dive in and let's get started. For this project, I'll be using this plastic container from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to paint it with a mixture of my steel color from Waverly and some baking soda, and I gave it 2 coats. Then I took some ballet slipper pink chalk paint from Waverly, and I'm going to add it to the tip of I think this is a makeup finger blender, and I'm going to add some of the paint flat onto it and then take away any of the excess off of it and lightly tap it on all the raised edges of this piece until I cover all of them. There were a couple places where I added some of the paint onto the flat surface instead. I just went back with the same mixture that I used before of the gray and painted over the pink sections that I stamped by mistake, and this is what it looked like once I was done. Next, I took one of these hearts that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm using this wooden one. I removed the little felt or the little puffy sticker on the back of it to make it completely flat, and then I'm going to paint it with my ballet slipper pink from Waverly. And once it dried, I'm going to just add some hot glue to the back of it and glue it to the midsection of the stem. And this is what it looked like. Then I took some peonies from Dollar Tree, folded the stem in half and placed it inside. And that is it for this one. Let me know what you think. Went ahead and traced one of them, and then I put a piece of fabric or another piece of the vinyl fabric in the back of it, so when I cut it I will end up with 2 of them. Quick tip, just make sure that you hold on to the fabric really tightly or pin it before you cut it to avoid any sliding. And here are my 2 pieces once I was done cutting them. So now it's time to arrange these. I put the big heart in the middle and then putting the smaller ones on the sides, angled a little bit. Once I was happy with the placement, I took my heat press and I'm pressing it right down onto my blanket. Friends, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. It is free and it means the world to me. In case I didn't mention this before, I put these at the bottom of my blanket. And here it is all completed. I love this, guys. I love how it all coordinates, how it is so nice and neutral. Let me know how you like these so far. And let's go on to the next DIY number 3. For these DIYs, I used 2 of these packets of hearts from the Dollar Tree and I painted them with my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. And I gave a total of 2 coats using this. Then I came in with some of this baker's twine from the Dollar Tree as well, and I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue to the end of it so it's easier for me to loop it through the holes of the hearts. And I tied a piece of this baker's twine on each of these hearts for a total of 8 hearts. If I had to do these again, I will make sure to go wash my hands from all of that crusted up white chalk paint I had because it made it harder to tie the bows. But anyway, I got it done. Then I took some of these beads that I got on clearance last year during the Christmas time online from Walmart, and I'm going to cut about, I would say about 6 to 7 feet of it off, and I'm going to go ahead and take some baker's twine and tie it at the end to make it a bit longer so I'm able to easily tie the knots to keep these beads in place. A new little trick I picked up from trial and error is to add a tiny bit of hot glue to your first knot, and that keeps it from unraveling so you can tie the second knot on top of it, and this makes it a little bit more secure. Once I'm done with the knot, I add a little bit more hot glue just to seal everything in. Clip off the excess and that knot is not going anywhere. Then I take the piece with the baker's twine and bring it close to the beads, and I tied into a loop, making the knot there big enough that the beads are not able to slide away. Now that the knots are secure and the beads are in place, I'm going to be attaching the hearts to this garland. What I did is I counted 15 beads, I guess I'm hungry. And I went over and I tied the biggest twine onto in between two of the beads. For some reason, I wanted to make them long like that. I don't know exactly what I was thinking, but you'll see me here do the second one. And then I'm like, I don't know, something is off here. Let me see. Let me make sure maybe it's just that I need to put them, more evenly. So I went ahead and I tied up the second one. And then I'm looking at it and I'm like, no, I don't like this. So I took my little weeder and I just untied the knots for both of these. And I'm bringing the twine up a lot more so it is closer to the beads. And I like this height a lot better. So I just did this with all 8 of my hearts there. I just did double knots. I did leave the strings on there. I liked how that turned out as well. So that is part of my design. And I'm going to be just wrapping it around, making a loop, putting the string through that loop and tighten it up. And that is more than enough for that material for it to stay in place. And I just repeated this, making sure that I have 15 beads in between each heart to make sure that you have the proper placement and that everything is nice and even. I said really quickly, thank you for everything and all your support. I really appreciate it. And here you will see this completed. I hope you love it. I do too. It is just lovely. I don't know, it's just special. I just like how it all ties in. It doesn't really conflict with the other colors. And it just brings a little bit more of that cozy feeling to my fireplace. Project, I'm going to use 3 of these candle holders that I found at Dollar Tree. I'm going to take some E6000 and some hot glue to attach 2 of these together. I'm going to be attaching it from their bottoms. And let me tell you, that bond was strong. Next, I took some of this spackle from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to add it to all of that edges that was left on there. And I'm trying to do it as smooth as possible, just making sure that that spackle goes into the groove and also to make it look seamless with the rest of the piece. Once I was happy, just put it to the side to dry. Then I'm going to work with this candle holder, and it was black already, but I wanted to change it to a more opaque piece. Then I took a lot of hot glue and I'm adding it to the hole at the top of the candle holder until I get all the way to the top. And then I'm going to position the bottom tip of the heart right into that hole and hold it in place until that glue completely dries. Then I took some of these pieces of vine that I got from a previous pick from Dollar Tree, and I'm cutting the pieces that would have went onto the stems, and I'm going to glue them right into that hole as well. Here the glue was already dry, so I just added a little bit of hot glue to it and pressed it right there at the base of the bottom of the heart. And I'm doing the same exact thing on the other side. I thought this needed a little bit more, so I'm taking this piece of boxwood that I had laying around and cutting the piece in the middle there off, and then adding the rest of the stem to the middle here. And to add a little bit of color, I took one of these flowers from Dollar Tree and removing it from the pick and taking off that piece that goes attached to the pick and adding some hot glue to the back and position it right there in the middle of the boxwood and the 2 other greeneries. And I thought this gave it the perfect amount of color. All right, for the next one, once it dried, I'm taking my sanding block or my slip sander and I am sanding off any areas that are uneven. Once that was done, I'm going to take some of my Polka black, rich black paint, and I gave it 2 coats. And abracadabra, pata de cabra, boom, it's painted. Next, we did the same thing with the other one. We're going to add the heart into the hole and put the greenery. However, for this one, I decided to put a white flower in the middle and 2 of the yellow greenish ones on each side. And that is the perfect touch. And we are done with this one. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think you'll be recreating this one? If you do, send me some pictures on Instagram. And if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and make sure that you subscribe as well. It is all free and it means the world to me. Thank you. Now let's go with the next inspiration. For this one, I'm going to be using the same heart that I used previously, and I'm going to use that wooden frame from Dollar Tree and that tissue paper as well. I did not end up using the arrows. I took the frame and I painted it with 2 coats of Rust-Oleum Linen White Chalk paint, and now I'm going to add Mod Podge to the center. Next, I'm going to take some of this tissue paper that I got recently at Dollar Tree. I thought it was perfect for today's DIYs. We will be putting this down when the Mod Podge is still tacky, being very careful to smooth it along as we go along, and also go ahead and crease the corners to make sure that we have that nice, crisp, and clean look. Once the Mod Podge was dry, I took my X-Acto knife, making sure that the blade is very sharp, and I just cut off the excess, having the crease be my guide. Then I carefully ripped off the excess, revealing a nice clean cut. To further protect this, I'm going to add a layer of Mod Podge on the top of the tissue paper. If you notice here, the paper is kind of bubbling up, but that is fine. This sometimes happens. But just let everything sit nice and flat and let it dry, and you'll see that everything will be good as new when you're done. Then I'm taking the heart and I'm going to add some hot glue to the middle portion right there in the bottom and at the top, and I'm going to place it at the center of the sign. Friends, I always want to know where are you watching from, just so I know how far my videos are reaching. So leave me a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Alright, next I took some beads from that garland that I got at Dollar Tree. I'm going to go ahead and take some of this weathered wood from Very Thin. It is wood base. And I just put it in a Ziploc bag and put some of it in there, swirled it around, let it sit for about 10 minutes, and then took it out and placed it in a piece of parchment paper to dry. And this is how they turned out after they were dry. They were not exactly how I wanted them, so I took some antique wax and I'm going to do a watered down solution of it and just put it all around all the beads, and that gave me the perfect mixture of brown and gray. And I just put it on the sign. I didn't quite like it, so I decided to paint it white. And then I didn't like it and I decided to paint it black. And this is what I ended up with. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about this one? For our next inspiration, I'm going to use this frame that I got from Dollar Tree, or the core piece, that wooden crate that I got from Dollar Tree, and one of the hearts. Next, I placed the crate up top of the window sign as you see there. I wanted to mark exactly what sections will be showing once I stick these two together. So I just make sure to mark the size as you see there, and I'm going to go in the back and mark off where the crate will be showing in the back of the sign. And I did this to identify the areas which I needed to paint. Then I painted the crate white, avoiding the sections that were outside the 2 squares that I did in the back. Even though this decor piece was already black, I painted it with 2 coats of my folk art rich black paint. And then I removed this piece that you use to hold it up. And then the hinge was kind of harder to take off. I just used my needle nose pliers to take that off and sand it off and painted that area as well. Decided not to use this piece, so I also unscrewed it using these small screwdrivers that I've also found at Dollar Tree. Next, I'm going to take some wood glue and add it to the bottom section of this sign as you see there, trying to stay only in the areas that the wood crate will be hidden in. I positioned my crate and cramped it down with some clips from Dollar Tree. Then I picked the best heart from this pack. And then I'm going to add some floral foam to the bottom of the crate. And then I glued the heart to the top section of the arch. If you want to make this more versatile, I will suggest to not glue it. Instead, use a hook so you're able to change out your wreaths with the seasons. I didn't need to do that, so I opted with gluing it on. Then I proceeded to use a variety of picks from Dollar Tree to fill in my crate. Don't mind the laptop that just shows up on my table here. My daughter had the need to show me some dresses while I was crafting, so just ignore that, okay? Then I took some of this boxwood from Dollar Tree. Actually, no, this came from Walmart. And I'm just going to cut it into smaller pieces and put them around different areas of my flower bed, we're going to call it for now. I added them into the front, to the back, trying to mix them up in between the other flowers. Then I took these florals from Dollar Tree and I'm going to also position it on different areas of the crate, just trying to cover up the floral foam. My friend, if you're still with me this far into the video, I want to give you a warm thank you. Thank you so much for sticking around. Leave me a flower emoji in the comments so I know who you are. And let me know where you're watching from as well. Thank you so much. And bing bam boom, this is done. Let me know in the comments what you think about this piece. I love it. All right, for this next inspiration, we will be using some of these clay pots that I found at Dollar Tree. Two of the hearts that we used before, and these two pieces that I had left over from some craft somewhere. I painted the pots white and painted the sticks black. And now that everything is dry, we are going to put it together. We are starting with adding some floral foam to the bottom of the pots. Then I took the pieces of the two little sticks there. We're going to glue them to the back of the hearts. And to do that, I just wedged them a little bit in between both of the pieces there, added some hot glue, held it in place, and added a whole bunch of hot glue more on top of the stick to make sure that that did not go anywhere. But I made sure to keep it all in one side of the heart. It took a little bit of time for the glue to set, so I just took my silicone tool and placed it underneath of the stick to keep it leveled, and then I added some more hot glue to the top. And I positioned both of them into the floral foam. Now it's time to embellish it. I'm going to use some of these beaded garlands from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to cut off a section that will be big enough. I use about, I will say, about a foot I took off. And I'm just going to wrap it around the heart until I go all the way around. I started in the beginning and I started at the base of the heart, worked my way all the way around, and then ended up at the base again, close to the skewer. Once everything was nicely tucked in, I cut off the excess and then placed it into my floral foam. And I did the same thing with both pieces. For the bottom section, I'm using some of these flowers that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut them very shortly and put them in the inside of each one of these flower pots. And I did the same with the other flower pot. Don't forget to let me know in the comments what do you think about this one. I love them. I used one of these signs from the Dollar Tree. Doesn't matter which kind you used. The long ones, I used this one from Christmas, and I removed the staples and the hanger from the back. And I'm going to go ahead and take some of my sanding blocks, sand down the edges, make sure that everything is nice and even. And then I'm going to apply some of my lightweight spackle from Dollar Tree to cover up those holes right there. Once I sanded the spackle smooth, I used some of this chalk paint from Rust-Oleum and painted the board white. And then I'm taking some of this folk art black paint and I'm painting the edges, giving it the look of chippy enamel. And I'm going to place this decal that I cut using my Cricut right at the top of the board. Then I took 4 of these envelopes that I found at Dollar Tree last year, and I placed them one on top of the other, trying to space them in equally. And I attached them to the board using a combination of gel, super glue, and hot glue. And you think I'm done, but no, this is not the end. Next, I remove the little bows from the galvanized areas using some heat and my little pick, and I'm going to upcycle this. I took red check ribbon from the Dollar Tree and I'm making bows that are a little bit bigger than the original bows. To make them, I make an awareness bow, then bring the loop down, cinch it in the middle and tie it with a piece of jute cord. And I just apply a little bit of hot glue to secure it a little bit better. Cut off the ends and I'm going to put it into the galvanized piece, but there's a little bit of glue, so I just melted using my heat gun and I scraped it off using the scraper there. Before placing the bow, I dovetailed the ends. I just folded the ribbon in half and cut upwards to create the little tails. Before attaching the bow, I scraped off any excess hot glue from the surface so we can start brand new. Once I applied the check bow, I used one of the other bows that came with the piece and I attached it right on top of the buffalo check bow. I repeated that 4 times. Not done yet. We need to make a hanger. So I took some of this buffalo check ribbon and I'm going to attach it to the top as a hanger. The first thing that I did a knot on both sides just to give it a little bit more place for the glue to hang into when I glue it to the back. I placed it facing with the printed side out and I'm going to attach it using some hot glue in the back of the sign, pressing it down with my silicone spatula and I get myself burned as usual, and I'm going to put that down and make sure that everything is attached correctly. Once that attaches, I'm going to add some hot glue on top of the fabric as well, and then I'm attaching some hot glue to the back of this because I will be putting some craft paper over it so I can cover up the previous sign. Nope, not done yet. We're going to add a little extra. These are little felt letters from the Dollar Tree. They come with a little sticky side already. All you have to do is peel and stick. It's pretty good. So I took the J for my husband's name, the L for mine, and the S for my daughter, and the G for my boy. And now we are finished. Here it is. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you love it. I love it, definitely love it. And I've not seen it before, so let me know if you've seen something like this. All right, so let's go over to DIY number 2. For this project, I'm using one of these signs from Dollar Tree, painting it white. Also, I'll be using some hearts from Dollar Tree and a sticker, wall sticker as well. The first thing that I did, I took the hearts and I placed them on top of my wall decal or wall tile, and I'm going to use this to cover my heart. So I need to cut off the section that I will need for this heart. I peel off, and then this came apart, so I just put a little bit of hot glue. And be careful with the side that you put the hot glue, and make sure that your hot glue is in low temperature, otherwise you'll be melting out the top part of the wall tile. And I attached the heart to the back using the back adhesive. Once everything was secure, I just took my scissors and I cut off the excess, leaving the heart shape. Friends, if you have not done so, please consider subscribing, like, comment, give me a thumbs up, and these simple things help my channel grow tremendously, and I truly appreciate it. Then I make sure the backing was done properly. It wasn't, so I just added a little bit of hot glue in low temperature setting and tacked it back down again. I repeated the process for 4 hearts. Then I took some of my full color black chalk paint and I completely painted the hearts. Then I'm coming in with these little letters from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to paint them using my red apple barrel paint. Once those is drying, I'm going to be using some full color black paint again, and I'm going to just paint the edges, creating like a chipped enamel look on this piece. I did all of the corners, including the sides. While that was drying, I took 4 dowels from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to stain them using my antique wax from Waverly. Then I took the white wax from Waverly and I'm going to apply it to each one of the hearts just to bring out the ridges. Now I'm using my folk art white chalk paint to coat the dowel rods, but in a kind of messy manner because I do want them to look like they are weathered. While that was drying, I glued on the letters onto the heart using some hot glue. Once the box was dry, I took some of this floral foam from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to put it into the box. I cut it in sections that were big enough to cover the entire opening, and since it was a perfect fit, I did not have to use any hot glue. Then I came in with some of this floral moss from the Dollar Tree, applied some hot glue to the floral foam, and added the moss on top of it. In this part, be very careful. I added a lot of moss on top to avoid any burns. And then I shaked off the excess. Next, I took my dowel rods and my hearts and I applied some hot glue to the back of my hearts and put the dowel rods as far up as I could without them showing on the other side. Then I reinforced it using some more hot glue. Once that was dry, I am placing it onto the foam board as evenly as possible. And this is how it's looking so far. Now I'm coming in with some flowers from the Dollar Tree as well. I took the red roses and I clipped them off of the stems, and I'm going to attach one in between each one of the dowel rods. Then I took the other flowers, did the same thing, cut them apart, and I'm putting them at each end of the arrangement and then in between the roses and the hearts. Then I took some of this ribbon from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to make some bows using it. I did an awareness bow, brought the loop down and tied it in the middle with some jute cord. And I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue to secure it onto the base of the heart. I thought that I was done, but I didn't like the height of the arrangement, so I came in with my tool and I cut about a third of the dowel rod off, and I did the same thing with the floral, and I just separated that fern-like piece from the flowers and added it as well and created like two different picks with it to make sure that everything was even. You see me just trimming every single thing. I'm trimming the roses. I'm just bringing everything down a little bit. I like the height a lot better than the taller arrangement. And here it is completed. I really love it. I'm just reinforcing it with some hot glue and touching up some areas with moss that got ripped off as I was changing things. I hope you enjoyed this. I love this arrangement. Let me know how you like it and which one that you like better, the taller one or this one is much better. Let me know in the comments. Okay, let's go to DIY number 3. For this one, I used this spanking brand new sign that I found this weekend at the Dollar Tree, and it's gonna be an easy one. What I'm gonna do is take my folk art black chalk paint and I'm going to paint the edges or the frame of the sign. I made sure to tape off the inside so I didn't get that part ruined. I am not changing that. Here I'm just trimming my ends to make sure that everything is nice and even. I don't get any bleed through. Next, I remove the tape on the sides that would touch in the letters because I'm going to be painting the letters using my folk art white chalk paint. Before the paint dried, I remove all the tape. Next, I took more of the ribbon and I made 2 bows to place where you see the jute cord coming out of the back. I didn't really like how the jute was looking, so I took some of the white chalk paint and I am coating it completely with it. Then I took the leftover pick from the previous DIY and I removed some of the flowers. I clipped off the little plastic end off of it and I make sure to hold it in place so it wouldn't fall apart. I took a dab of hot glue, put it on the middle of the bow and I stick it on there. I repeated that with both flowers. Most of you will say, oh, that's so cute, but I'm not done yet. I'm going to take the greenery from the same pick and I'm going to attach it to the sides of my bow using some hot glue. Then I dovetail the ends of my bows. And now we are done. I was beyond happy when I found this sign at the Dollar Tree. Let me know how you like it. Which one of these are your favorite? For the first one, we're going to be using this thing that I got from Dollar Tree, and I took a piece of floral foam and I'm going to glue it to the bottom of it using some hot glue. Then I'm going to take one of these dowel rods that I got from Dollar Tree and we're going to stain it using our Waverly antique wax. I found this beautiful rose ball at Dollar Tree in the plus section for $3 and it is perfect for a topiary. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that dowel rod and stick it onto the bottom. It's the area that has a bald spot, and then I'm going to stick it onto the floral foam as you see right there. Then I took some of this beaded garland from Dollar Tree and I'm going to wrap it tightly on the dowel rod. I went once down and then I brought it up to make it a little bit thicker. The inspiration for this project came from Cecil Crafty. She made these beautiful topiaries and I really wanted to try them on my own. Then I took some floral molds from Dollar Tree and I'm going to put it in the can there to cover up the floral foam. And then we're going to use some of this boxwood that I had cut into individual pieces and we are going to stick it around the entire dowel rod as you see there, just sticking it onto the floral foam. And this is it for this one. Let me know what you think. Next inspiration today, we're going to be using one of these conversation hearts that we got from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take some paper towel and place it on top of it and pour some water on there. Make sure to saturate it really nicely. I'm going to make sure that every part of the heart is covered with the water and I'm going to let it sit for a few minutes. If you notice here, the edges got, that water went through the edges a lot easier because they had some open areas. So here I'm going to take the same spatula that I'm using to scrape this off and I'm going to scrape the other surface and reposition that wet paper towel back on there, and then you see how much better this came out. And then it's like butter, you just scrape it right off. I learned this trick from Brenda from Rustic and Lace DIY. Thank you for that, Brenda. So now I'm going to remove that sticker using my spatula and then just remove it right off. So here I'm going to use this candle holder that I also got from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use some E6000 and some hot glue to position this to the bottom of my heart. My friends, if you enjoyed this video so far, don't forget to leave me a big thumbs up. And while you're there, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so YouTube notifies you each time that I upload a new video. All these things are free and they mean the world to me. All right, so here I'm going to paint my entire piece with my ink color from Waverly. And then I'm going to come in with this white color from Apple Barrel and paint only the top portion of the heart. And we are going to paint the vase as well. Here I'm coming back with my dauber and I wanted to make this look distressed. So before that paint dried, I'm coming with that again and removing some of the paint. Now I took some of this metal ribbon from Dollar Tree. I bent it in half and I added a little bit of hot glue to the very tip and put it right on there to hold it in place. Then I'm going to use a combination of E6000 and hot glue to attach this to the rest of my heart. The trick there to get a pointy end was to just bend your wire in half and create a little pointed portion, and this helps you form nicely onto your heart. Just be very careful here not to burn yourself, as this is metal and the hot glue can easily go through the metal and burn you. So if you can, please use some finger protection. And make sure to clean off any excess glue that oozed to the top, just to make sure that my project is nice and clean. And I just continue to do the combination of the E6000 and the hot glue until I went around the entire surface. Once I got to the top of the heart here, I'm just making sure to bend my piece right there so it fits nice and snug. And I'm going to be careful to use the combination of E6000 and hot glue, but very close together, so I'm able to maintain that shape until that E6000 set and it has that permanent hold on that. I repeated the same process with the other side, but here I had to trim it a little bit. I had a little bit too much of the ribbon, so I just made sure to know exactly what it will hit, and then I just cut it with my scissors. And I did the same thing as I did on the previous one. Added E6000 and hot glue in small little intervals to make sure that this remained nice and snug and it did not come apart. The inspiration for this riser came from Cathy-Jo DIYs. I could not find the video in which she made it, but here's her channel. Make sure you check it out. The little corner there was giving me a hard time, so just added a little bit more hot glue on there and just pressed it in place. And that's pretty much it. Just put a sealant over it and you're good to go. This came out so cute. Let me know what you think of this one. For the next inspiration here, we're going to be using one of these beaded garlands that just came out this year from Dollar Tree. At least I didn't see it before. And we're going to use these rose. This is also from Dollar Tree. The first thing that I did is I removed one of the lighter pink ones, as you see there. I left a small amount of the tab available, so I'm able to wrap it around that intersection where the two sides meet right there. And then I'm going to add some hot glue to keep it in place. Then I took two of this brighter pink and I'm going to do the same exact thing, but I'm going to attach them 3 beads away from the other one. And I'm going to also wrap the stem around the bead and add some hot glue to the bottom there to keep it in place as well. And I did that in both sides. This project was inspired by Michelle Smith's creations, and this is what she made. Make sure you head on over to check her channel out. I fluffed up my flowers and look how cute it looks so far, but I'm not done yet. You know already. I'm going to take some of this sheer ribbon that I got from Dollar Tree and I'm going to cut a section that will be long enough to be my hanger, and I'm just going to create a knot there at the top. Then I'm going to slide that knot towards the bottom instead and have it look towards the back of the beads and making sure that it stays nice and centered. And then I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue to keep it in place. Then using this same ribbon, I'm going to create a double loop finger bow. So I just add in the ribbon to my fingers, as you see there. I wrapped it twice. Then I'm going to wrap it around in between my fingers towards the back. And here I'm just cutting once I know exactly what size of my tail I want. And then just going to bring it around and then tuck it into that loop that I created and tighten it, as you see right there. This is so much easier sometimes, but look how cute that turned out, making sure that your tails are facing the same way. And we're going to glue it right there where the metal is showing. And ta-da! That is it for this one. It is so, so cute. Let me know what you think. This next project was inspired by this beautiful piece that Amanda from 6 Kids and a Glue Gun made on her channel. I really wanted to try my hand on it. I decided to use one of these tins that came from Dollar Tree. I removed that jute cord and we are going to paint it with a full coat of ink color from Waverly. Then I painted it with a full coat of this acrylic white paint from Apple Barrel. And I used the same technique that I used for the riser before this. Once that was nicely dried, I'm going to come in with these flowers from Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove them off the stem. And for those that have a very long bottom section where the stem used to hold it, I'm just going to trim it off. However, most of the flowers were a little bit too wide. So in the cases in which the flowers were a little bit too wide, I'm going to just hold the flower onto my hand as to make it as a closed up flower that has not bloomed yet. And I'm going to add some hot glue to those centers. But here first, I'm just rearranging the pieces to make sure that I have the correct amount of flowers and that I'm able to create a nice shape of the heart. Right here, so you see how I, form the flower into my hand, trying to keep it a little bit closer. And then I added some hot glue so it will keep its form. And I repeated this with those that needed that fix. Once I was done here, I'm going to just add them onto the inside of my tin. I started with that lighter pink, held it in place. And here we're going to add two of the fuchsia-like pink to the side, as you see right there. And I just kept, trying to put them in a nice form in which they will complement each other. Friends, if you're still with me this far into the video, thank you so much. Leave me a heart emoji so I know who you are and know that I truly appreciate you. And if you have not done so yet, make sure that you head on over and subscribe and hit the notification bell so YouTube notifies you each time that I upload a new video. And also at the end of this video, you will see a playlist that has many more of Valentine's Day decorations that I have made on my channel if you would like to see some more. And don't forget to let me know what you think of this one. And here it is, the final reveal. Here we go with the first inspiration. I used one of these wreath forms from Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove that tag, and I'm also going to remove all the tinsel off of it. It was quite easy to do once I knew exactly where my end was and the pattern in which this was wrapped on. And this is what it looked like. We're going to leave all those little pegs. We're going to take some of this yarn that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to tie the end right there at the top of the heart. And then we're going to wrap it around this entire wreath one. I cut off that extra piece that was right there. And then we're going to go ahead and take that ball of yarn and then just wrap all the way around this, making sure that each one of the revolutions are very close to the other one, so we have a best coverage of the wreath form. Once I got to the corner here, when we are going from like going downwards, the yarn had a tendency of trying to slide down, so I just added a little bit of hot glue right there at the top to keep it from sliding down. And I continue doing this all the way until I got to the other end of the heart. The little plastic pieces that are sticking out there, they were very helpful in holding the yarn in place as well to make sure I had the best coverage. And this was looking like so far. Once I got to the end here, there is a little area that is a little bit, a little peak. So I'm making sure to put a piece of yarn directly on top of that area to make sure that it doesn't slide off and to cover up that wreath form as well. Then I'm just going to tack it down using a little bit of hot glue. My friends, if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to leave me a big thumbs up. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe. It is free and it means the world to me. Thank you. All right, now we're going to take one of these signs that we got from Dollar Tree. These are brand new. I did not see them last year. If you did, let me know. I removed that hanger, those staples off, and using some hot glue, I'm going to attach it right there onto the front of the heart. But I had a little bit of yarn that was sliding off at the peak, so just add a little bit of hot glue, position it right there at the tip, and fix it all up. And now we are going to add that beautiful new sign from Dollar Tree right to the front using some hot glue. I went a little too much with the glue here, so I really thought it was going to be perfect coverage, but I went a little bit further. So here I'm just adding a little bit of hot glue in some sections that really did not have any hot glue and the board touched. And here I'm using the back of my gel super glue to remove the excess glue before that dried. And I'm doing it upwards to avoid that making a huge mess on top of my yarn. And it came out nice and clean. Then I took a piece of rope and I'm going to create a bow with it. So I'm going to scrunch it like you see right there. And I'm going to take some of the yarn that I used to wrap the wreath with, and I'm going to tie it right in the middle. And once I tie it with a double knot, I'm going to make sure to leave a tail pretty long there once I do the double knot. And then I'm going to wrap some of that yarn around it to create a beautiful little spot in the middle of my bow. And then I'm going to cut off the excess, and I'm going to tie that one piece to that first piece of yarn that I had left there a little bit longer, and I'm going to create a double knot and make sure that it's nice and tight and that my bow is nice and cute as I want it. And then I'm gonna just go ahead and burn off the fuzzies off of my rope, and we are going to take a nice and healthy amount of hot glue, add it onto the very top of that heart, and position it right there in place. And if you have not noticed, I changed the hanger also, and I made it with some yarn. And that is it for this one. Don't forget to leave me your thoughts in the comments. Here we go with the next inspiration. For this one, I used one of these farmhouse looking distress frames from the Dollar Tree. I'm removing that packaging, and I'm going to remove the back end also. Just be very careful when you're doing this part, so those little browns tend to break and break the plastic around them as well. So once I remove those carefully, I also took off that glass. I'm going to take one of these bags that I got from Dollar Tree. I took the glass that I took out from the frame, and I'm going to trace it over this bag. Once I had it nicely traced, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. I am cutting towards the inside portion of that marker because I want this to fall into the hole and not overlap at all. Then I position my bag, as you see right there, reposition that glass to give it something to hold on to, and put the back in as well. Then I'm going to take one of these hearts that I got from this pack of hearts from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to glue it right onto the center using some hot glue. I am keeping that little foam piece as I want it to be a little bit more raised. Then we're going to take some of this yarn, this jute cord from Dollar Tree, and we're going to create a small finger bow. What I did was wrap the jute cord around my fingers for as many loops as I want my bow to have. Then I wrap that end around the middle and creating a little loop, and then I put that end through that loop, kind of like, creating a knot. And then I tightened it using the tails and trimmed off the excess tails. And we're going to glue it right onto that heart after I cinched the fuzzies, of course. And that is it for this one. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments. For this next inspiration, I'm going to be using one of these Valentine's Day trees that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm not sure if I've seen it before. I don't think so. If you have, let me know. Then I'm going to add some of this pearl garland from Dollar Tree as well. I'm going to just wrap it right there at the base of the heart, making sure that it's nice and tight. And then I'm going to meander it. I don't know. I'm just going to just go it down, all the way down, trying to space it out equally throughout the entire tree until I get all the way down to the base. And once I get to the base, I'm going to go all the way around until the two pieces of garland meet again, and then we're gonna cut it off right at that point. Friends, if you're still with me this far into the video, thank you so much. Leave me a little tree emoji so I know who you are. And if you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It is free, and go ahead and join the Lolly D's Creations family. And if you're not ready to commit, I understand. Just leave me a big thumbs up leave me a comment, and share this video with someone. That truly also helps my channel. Thank you so much. Alright, once I got to the end, I'm just going to glue that end down with a little bit of hot glue. I'm going to trim off that excess, and that's it for that. But we need to create a little base for this. So I took this candle holder from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to paint it with 2 coats of that white apple barrel paint. And we are going to distress it using some antique wax from Waverly. And then this is how it was looking. Then I took some of that hot glue and added to that raised edge of the candle holder, and I'm going to glue it to the base of my tree. And that is it for this one. Let me know what you think. Alright, time for the final reveal. Don't forget to let me know in the comments which one is your favorite. For this DIY, I used one of these rectangular pieces from the Dollar Tree, and I painted using 2 coats of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in garland and white, and I'm going to paint the border using the black folk art black paint from folk art. And I did it 2 coats, and then I'm taking one of these words from the Dollar Tree, and I'm giving it 2 coats of my white paint as well. And once everything dried, I'm going to use this red tissue paper to glue to my sign. So the first thing I did a nice coat of my Mod Podge, waited for it to dry. Once it was dry, I placed the paper down and used my heat tool to press it down. Here I forgot to use my parchment paper, but it still worked. And I'm just cutting the excess, and I'm going to use a little trick that I've seen a couple of YouTubers use. Taking my lighter, I ignited the tissue paper, and it burned off all the edges, revealing the beautiful word at the end. A trick that I learned doing this is if you have areas in which you have an O, it is best to split the paper and ignite it afterwards so it will burn evenly like the rest of the edges did. I took my black folk art paint and I painted all of the edges and the inside of the letter, and I did a quick dry brush on top as well, just to give it a little bit of rustic look. Now I've taken some of this paint, and I'm painting one of these hearts from the Dollar Tree. And once everything was dry, I took Mod Podge and spread it all around, let it dry. Then I took some of this buffalo check tissue paper, and I'm going to cut it to the appropriate side, and we are going to press it in as well. Again, I forgot to put my parchment paper, but thankfully this time it also worked. So as I told you before, just split your paper in the middle when you have an O situation, and then just burn off the ends just like this. I love watching this. It doesn't get over for me. So I scraped off little areas that looked like it were a little bit charted, and the some paper was still there. And now I'm taking my frame and I'm going to add these pieces to it. I use a combination of gel super glue and hot glue to attach these pieces to my frame. I took some of these beads from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to put them onto a little skewer and give them a coat of apple red paint from apple barrel. Then I took a pack of white beads from the Dollar Tree, and once the other beads were dried, I just thread them both using a 1-to-1 ratio onto jute cord, and I'm going to use it as my hanger. I just put the jute cord through the holes in the frame and did a single bow at the front. And this is how we ended up with this little thing right here. I love it. I hope you guys love it too. I did go ahead afterwards and painted the back black just to have it be a finished product. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you're inspired to create something like this, and I am totally loving it. And we are moving on now to DIY number 3. For this project, I used one of these slotted hearts from the Dollar Tree. I removed the hanger and gave it 2 coats of white chalk paint. And now I'm going to use one of these tissue papers that Lisa sent me to add to some of my slats here. I added some Mod Podge, placed it all down, make sure that everything was nice and dry. This I want to do in a multi-layered situation, so I'm trying something different to see how it works. So I placed the first layer, I put it down, cut the excess, burned off the excess like I did with the previous DIY, but not quite yet. I had to do the bottom first apparently. I used my heat tool once again on top of the tissue paper. Big mistake with this one because all the gold section of my tissue paper got burnt and smeared. And then I burned off the excess. The parts where the bracket were not getting burnt off, so those I sanded down using an emery board. And I also sand down the burnt edges. And here we go. You can see the parts that got burned off. But that's okay. I'm going to be applying another layer anyway. So I applied some more Mod Podge on top of the tissue paper. And I am going to repeat the same process once more. I'm going to press down the paper, but I'm trying to put the hearts at different levels so they would look like shadows from within the paper. I just want to give it a little bit more of a 3D effect. So I placed it down while the Mod Podge was still wet. And I pressed it down, make sure that everything was nice and bubble free. And I'm going to again cut off the excess. I went a little bit closer here so it will be easier to get done. And I also needed to save some of that paper for a third layer. So I'm going to add again some more Mod Podge. And I'm going to apply this while it's still wet, pressing down. And now I came up with the parchment paper finally. And I'm going to be pressing it down in order to preserve my gold hearts, and I did that with both the top and the bottom. Now I took one of these boho style love signs from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to give it 3 coats of gold paint. When I was trying to remove the hanger, it ended up breaking in half, so that's why you see it there clamped. I just added a little bit of wood glue, and clamped it together in order to use it. So once I was done, I just given everything a final emery board cleanup. And I'm going to attach the word right to the center where the white is. I took some beads, white beads from the Dollar Tree, and I'm adding some gold paint to the packaging and a little bit of water. And I'm going to be shaking them around in order to stain my beads gold. Once all my beads were coated, I just put them on top of my mat. I removed some of the excess paint, spread them around, and use my little heat gun to get them dry. And then I sand down some areas that were left to be a little bit rough. Put them on skewers and touch them up. Then I took the beads and I thread them into my jute cord to create a hanger for this love sign. Then I found where the holes were located and I punched through the paper using a skewer. I fed the jute cord through the holes and tied them with a knot on each end. Make sure to cut off the excess and also use some heat through my lighter to burn off any straggly hairs off of the jute cord. And here it is all completed. I really love how you see the different shades of the hearts along from the layers of them. And here are all 3 of the projects together. DIY number 1. For the first DIY, I used one of these love signs from the Dollar Tree. I removed the hanger. I tried everything to remove it. Eventually, I ended up just cutting it right off. And I took some of my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint and I did a heavy dry brush over the entire piece, including the little nooks and crannies. Then I took this scrap piece of paint stir stick that I had laying around and I'm going to paint it as well using my white paint. I'm doing the same thing as I did with the love sign. I'm gonna just do a dry brush. And this is how it ended up. Then I took one of these scrap rolls that I had laying around, and I'm going to stick it right where the O goes, and make sure to have the petals laid down flat and covering the entire O. And then I'm going to reinforce it with some hot glue in the back to make sure that it stays in place. And here it is. Now I'm going to attach both of them to the board that I painted earlier. I'm going to just put some hot glue in all the spots where the letters touch the plank. And we are not done yet. I'm going to take some of the antique wax and I'm going to apply it using a dry brush effect in all the little corners and edges of each letter, just to bring a little bit more dimension and to tie the colors more together with the other DIYs. Friends, this video is part of a playlist, so be sure that you click on the description box below so you can watch all the other videos and maximize your inspiration. And here it is, all completed. The camera really doesn't do it justice. It is so cute. It's rustic and delicate at the same time. I hope you love it as much as I do. DIY number 2. For this DIY, I used one of these chargers from the Dollar Tree, and I painted with my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. I gave it 3 coats, drying in between with my heat gun. I then took some of these hearts that I found at the Dollar Tree last year, leftover from last year, and I'm going to select the best 3. Some of them don't look quite as a heart, so I took the best 3 that I could find, and I took some of these berries from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to wrap them all around the 3 of these hearts. Since the hearts were so small and my spool of beads was so big, I just cut off a section that I thought will be enough to wrap around the entire thing, made a tinier spool, and it was easier for me to wrap the berries in this manner. Friends, don't forget to visit 6 Kids and a Glue Gun and Didi's Art Workshop. The link to their channels are in my description box below. If you enjoyed this video so far, please be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It is free and it means the world to me. Once I was done with all 3 hearts, I placed them back into the charger, just looking at my placement, and then I decided we needed to do a little bit extra. So I dry brushed some antique wax in all of the little bumps. I just wanted to tie everything together and give this a little bit more interest and some depth by just highlighting all of the little details on the charger. I don't know, guys, I find something therapeutic on just watching something come to life as we paint. After all dried, I repositioned my hearts back in the charger and I switched them around a little bit because I have a plan for the top. So I wanted to make sure that everything was nice and cohesive and the best looking. So I took some hot glue and I added it to the back of my hearts, and I started with the last heart. There you see me how I flipped it. I want the heart that's most pronounced to be in towards the middle, and then I attached the top one to my frame as well. Then I took some of this burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree and I cut it in half, and I was trying to figure out the best placement. So I was wondering if I should just put each side on there or if I should just tie together both of the ribbons onto it. But they are making sure that the height is also the same, and I'm having a lot of ideas in my brain at that time. Then I decided to just tie one end together and then cut the 2 sides, and we are going to attach it to the back of our charger. But first I wanted to make it a little bit more rustic, so I tore off all the seams that I had, like stitching that I had at the ends, and I want this to be a little bit frayed, so I took out some of the pieces from the burlap just to give it a little bit of the frayed look. I was studying different ways of putting this, and then I decided to just put them both in one section right in the middle. So I added some hot glue to the middle of the charger, use my silicone spatula to press that down to make sure that the hot glue will seep through the burlap, and then I place the other side on top of more hot glue and put them both together in the middle. Once that was done, I was ready to add a bow, so I took a piece of the burlap, cut it the same length as the charger, and again remove all the stitching off the corners. Also removed a couple of threads from the burlap just to give it that frayed look, and I'm going to use this to make a bow. I took some hot glue, added it to the top of the charger, and pressed down the burlap right at the middle. Again, I used my little silicone spatula, just making sure that I didn't burn myself. Then I crunched up the bow a little bit more, added a little bit more hot glue, and I ended up with a nice and neat little bow. I trimmed the ends for it to be symmetrical with the other side, frayed it once again, and here we are going to be adding a little bit more embellishment. I took another red rose that I have left over from the Dollar Tree, from a pick in the Dollar Tree, and then removing the little extra piece from the top that will usually connect it to the stem. And I'm going to add some hot glue, and this rose is going to go right in the middle of my bow. And with this detail, my project is complete. Here it is. I really love it. I love that it's rustic, but at the same time it's delicate and romantic. I don't know, let me know which one is your favorite so far, and I hope that you are inspired to recreate this DIY. Now let's jump into DIY number 3. For this project, I used one of these slotted hearts from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to do another dry brush or thicker dry brush to it. I do it to the entire piece and just leaving some areas here and there with some paint. I painted the back and the front. Then I took some of my antique wax and I did it a very light distressing on the ends just to bring out some more character to this piece. I really like the dimension that dry brushing the ends give to different projects. I made sure to also dry brush the edges where the slots were to make sure that this was uniform. Friends, for this project we are recreating DIYs or projects seen by other creators and just giving it a special twist. And you will see my creators listed in my description box below. For this project, I'll be bringing in the roses and the burlap ribbon once again. The first thing that I did is I measured out my burlap ribbon, making sure that I had the right size, and then I'm cutting off that piece. Then once again, I am removing the stitching off this burlap ribbon. I did that with both the sides of the stitching. Friends, please don't forget to subscribe, send me a like, show me some love. I truly appreciate it. It is free and it means the world to me. Once the burlap was nice and frayed, I place it back down on my heart, and I'm going to go ahead and flip it over, and I'm going to be hot gluing this to the back. Just make sure that everything is nice and straight before you do this, and be careful not to burn yourself. This project was inspired by Heidi Samble. You will see the link to her video in my description box below. Once everything was nice and straight and I'm satisfied, I'm gonna come in with some of these red roses from the Dollar Tree. I got this during the fall time. I love the deep red that it has. And what I did is I took 2 pieces of, there was the smaller roses. I put them together with each other, and then I'm going to take some of that seam that I took off of the burlap ribbon, and I'm going to wrap it around the stem, covering both of the roses stems. I just secured everything with a little bit of hot glue and repeated this process until the entire stems were covered. I clipped off the little end of the stems, and I am going to be gluing down this to the burlap and to the heart slot as well. Once that was set, I took some loose roses. I trimmed off the extra piece, and I'm going to add some hot glue and glue them to each side of the roses. Once that hot glue dried, I added a little bit of hot glue in between the petals just to eliminate that gap that you see there and give this a little bit more of a full bouquet look. I took some of my jute cord, wrapped it around my hands a couple times to create a little bow. I tied it at the middle with some more jute cord, secured it with a little bit of hot glue, left the tails nice and loose, burned off all the straggly ends, and I'm going to be attaching this to the bottom part of my bouquet. And now it's time for a hanger. So I took some of these beads from the Dollar Tree that come as a garland, and I just added a little bit of hot glue to the end so it'll be easier for me to feed them through the little holes. And I looped it twice so I can create a bigger knot. Before I cut the beads off, I measured off to see how long I wanted this to hang, and I then made the decision at that point to cut the section that I needed to use so I can attach it to the other side. I fed the string through the back and did another knot and secured both of my knots with a tiny bit of hot glue. And I am not done yet. I took some of these rubbing transfers from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to apply them to different areas of this slats of the heart. And I'm going this to achieve a little bit of a romantic look and vintage feel. In the midst of me doing this, my transfer got stuck to my paper and took off a portion of my ribbon. I was so mad and sad, but hey, we had enough to finish this, thank goodness. So I just repeated this process with the rest of my heart. I just left the top section undone, but I did do it in all of the other slats. I did it on the outer piece and the complete bottom. I learned my lesson and I put the backing of the transfer on top of my work area so that way I do not lose any more of this transfer. I'm in the final piece and this is how it came out. I love this piece, guys. Again, the camera does not give it justice or do it justice. It is gorgeous. I hope you guys like it too. DIY number 4 is a beaded garland. I took this garland from the Dollar Tree. I pull it apart, remove all the red beads out of there and put aside the ones that had the natural wood, and I'm going to remove the medallion as well. I took this garland from the Dollar Tree as well and attached it to the medallion I took off from the other garland. Took some of this white chalk paint and I'm going to be painting the beads that came originally from the first garland that I showed you. I put the beads on a skewer and I just painted them. I threaded 6 natural color beads and 1 white. I did this pattern until I was happy with the length of my garland. To make a tassel, I took some of my jute twine and I wrapped it in the long side of my sanding block. I just kept going around it for as many times as I thought was enough to create my tassel. But I was a little bit wrong with my judgment on here, but you'll see shortly what I did. I cut off my jute cord off the sanding block, making sure to hold it on the middle. Then I took the loose end of the garland to secure the middle part of this tassel. I just tied it as closely as I could to the beads, making sure that there was barely any gap, and tied it nice and tight. And this is the moment I realized I messed up. This tassel was too small. But we are going to figure something out to fix it. I made sure that the tassel was completely secure and as close to a bead as possible and trimmed off the excess there. Now we are going to work on making this tassel a little bit thicker. What I did is I just did the same thing that I did before. with the sanding block, cut the excess off, trim them at the bottom, and kept holding the jute right on the middle. To fix my boo-boo, what I did is I took the tassel, the new tassel, and put it exactly against the other one long ways, making sure that everything matched up. And then I took another piece of jute cord and I tied that extra tassel material onto the original tassel to create a little bit more thickness. I made sure to double knot in order to make sure that nothing fall apart. I put the extra piece in the middle because it should be covered by all the other strings. I put everything nice and neat, stretched out the top, and now we are going to be wrapping the top section to create that tassel look. I took the jute cord, tied it nice and tight. I did 3 different knots, the last one being a double knot. And I'm going to take the jute cord and I'm going to wrap it multiple times in that section, and that's going to be covering up my my knots on there. So I put a little bit of hot glue and I just kept wrapping and wrapping and wrapping until I was happy with the depth or the thickness of my wrap job there. Then I took the little end, tucked it inside the other, added a little bit of hot glue to keep it in place, fluffed up my tassel, and pretty much set my tassel on fire, trying to remove all the little straggly ends. If you can see, there was a section there that got pretty burned up, but I got it extinguished. So please be very careful with this section. This part, I did want it a little bit charted, but I think I went a little bit too far, but it didn't matter because I had to trim those little ends anyway. And this is done. Here it is all completed. I love the way that everything with these projects tied together. I love the theme. I like the rustic and the red and the romantic feel. DIY number 1. We're gonna use one of these rectangular shadow boxes from the Dollar Tree. The joints were a little bit loose, so I went in, I tried to spread it open a little bit and get some hot glue in the groove and press it into place to make sure that this is nicely supported, and I remove any excess glue from the surface. I did this with 4 of the sides. Then I removed the hanger and painted the frame with gold paint from Kryolan. Then I took this gift bag and I'm going to be removing the side where the bag folds, and I'm going to be using this as a backing. In order to find out the perfect size, what I did is I placed it into the rectangle, and then I creased in the other sides to give me a little indentation so I knew exactly where to cut. Then I cut along the entire crease. Then I checked for measure one more time, make sure that everything was correct. Oh, and it wasn't. It was still a little big, so I creased it one more time, and I'm going to go back and cut it all over again. I really wanted it to be a pretty good fit. Once everything fit as I expected, I removed the paper and I came in with some white glue from the Dollar Tree. I just spread it around the entire surface, then took a little paintbrush and spread it evenly on the entire surface. Once the entire surface was coated, I put my paper right back down, and I am using my hand to remove any bubbles, and then I came in with my scraper. I did use a little bit too much of the glue, so here you see me scraping the excess off and just wiping it off with a paper towel. While that's set, I'm going to be taking one of these hearts from the Dollar Tree. I just apply some heat to the little bow section there just to melt the glue, and I'm going to just remove it. Then I had a little bit of glue left over, so I used my scraper to try to remove it. It didn't quite take all of it. Then I came in with a little baby wipe, tried to scrape it off. It didn't work. I scraped it one more time. It was still there, so I just took my sanding block and I just sanded off the little end that was remaining. Then I took my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint and I applied it to the entire surface. I gave this heart 3 complete coats. I sanded it and let it dry in between. Once both pieces were dry, I took 2 tumbling lava blocks and I'm going to glue them to the back of the heart. Once I went to apply the heart, I didn't like how it looked, so I wanted to change the gold for some white. So I took linen white chalk paint and I'm going to repaint the frame instead with my linen white chalk paint. I gave it 2 coats of paint, making sure not to mess up the backing. I then went back to the heart and I'm going to embellish it using some of this burlap ribbon that I've also found at Dollar Tree. I cut the ribbon to my desired size and then I removed some of the threads from the top and bottom to give it more of a rustic look. Then I took my scissors and I'm trimming off a little bit excess of that, adding some hot glue to the backing and folding the burlap ribbon over it to attach it securely. I repeated this process also with the other side, making sure that everything was straight and taut. I had 2 choices of ribbon. I had a darker and a lighter. I went with the lighter choice and I'm going to position it right in the middle right there of the burlap. I cut a piece that was big enough to fold over and I ran a bead of hot glue across my burlap and I'm going to lightly position the ribbon right on top of that. Then I'm going to flip my heart over and tack the little ends on the back as well. Just be very careful not to burn your fingers. Friends, as I said earlier, this is a collaboration. There are many talented creators making some DIYs for your inspiration, so be sure to stop at the description box below and visit their channels and play the playlist listed as well. I found this pack of felt hearts at the Dollar Tree and I'm taking one that is white and hot pink and I'm going to glue it right at the center of the ribbon. Now I'm ready to attach the heart to the shadow box. I placed it right in the middle, applied some hot glue to the tumbling top of blocks and placed it down. And now we're going to be making a hanger using these black beads that I also found at the Dollar Tree. And I'm just threading them onto the same jute cord that the piece came with. Friends, if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to subscribe. It is free and it means the world to me. Once I was done threading the beads, I just repositioned the hanger back onto the shadow box. And here it is. I really love this. Let me know if you would have left it gold or went with the white as I did. And let me know how you like it. DIY number 2. For this project, I'm using one of these glass vases from the Dollar Tree. I got this in clearance section. It was a quarter. Removed the little plastic piece and the sticker. The first thing that I did was completely coat the glass with some Mod Podge. I let it dry. I used my little heat gun, but I have to warn you, please be careful. It's easy to burn yourself. The glass really warms up and it's easy to get burnt. When everything was dry, I took some Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint and I completely covered the entire glass. I used a Mod Podge to avoid some streaking. Then I took my black folk art chalk paint and I used one of these little sponges. And what I want to do is bring out those little raised areas on the glass, and I want to make this look like if it was a chipped enamel thin instead. If you're inspired to recreate this project, I will suggest that you use a smaller sponge. That will give you more control of where the paint goes. The jar has an indentation where you can put a sticker or writing, so there I am completely filling in that area with my black chalk paint. First I use the sponge just to saturate the area, and then I'm coming in with my brush to give it a nice clean look. If you're enjoying these DIYs, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. The bigger sponge left me with some distressing that I was not anticipating to have. So I am going back in with my linen white Rust-Oleum chalk paint with a small brush, and I'm just lightening up some areas that were a little bit too distressed for my liking. And also I can give it this little like gray-like effect and give it more depth. And I think that blending these two colors made it look more realistic, more like an enamel chipped vase. Once the vase was dry, I took some of this floral foam from the Dollar Tree. I measured the amount that will fit inside the jar. I trimmed the corners off so it has rounded edges and it comes into the jar without any issues. Then I put the remaining pieces on the sides to keep everything in place. Then I took some of the hot glue and I am adding it on top of the floral foam, and I'm going to add some floral moss on top of it to cover the floral foam. Friends, I hope that you have been enjoying the video. Don't forget to stop by and do the playlist, stop by the hosts, and let them know Loli sent you. Now it's time for the shake test. Everything is attached properly, so now we are ready to embellish this vase. We're going to be using these pink roses I got from the Dollar Tree, and I started by just putting one in the center of the arrangement, and I'm going to be positioning the rest alongside of them, trying to make it look as a tiny bouquet. I tried to space them as evenly as possible and just rearranging some to make sure that I don't have any holes. And then here what I'm doing is heating up my roses to remove all the wrinkle and the droopiness for them and open up the petals so they look like more refreshed. You'll see how much better these petals will look once I apply the heat. Just be very careful to do the heat gun pretty further out so you don't burn your flowers. And you think I am done, you'll be wrong. We are going to be adding a little bit more to this, just a tiny touch to bring everything together. This is one of the little red wooden hearts that come in a pack from the Dollar Tree. I removed the little foam that it comes with and added some hot glue, and I pressed it down directly in the middle of the black section where the lettering will be. I pressed it down, make sure that it was secure, and then I'm going to turn it on its side, and I'm going to add more hot glue in the back of the heart to ensure that this stays in place. I did it to both sides of the heart. And this is how this guy turned out. I absolutely love it. It is absolutely beautiful. So cute, so darling. It will be great for a little nightstand or coffee table. Let me know how you like it. DIY number 3. For this project, I used one of these wood rounds from the Dollar Tree. I removed the tag and hanger, and I'm taking my Rustic and linen white chalk paint, and I am painting half of this wood round with it. Without skipping a beat, I did the same thing with this folk art chalk paint from folk art. I painted the other half, or a little bit less than a half, as well of the wood round. While that dried, I took one of these love signs from the Dollar Tree and painted it with my apple red apple barrel acrylic paint. I gave it a total of 2 coats. To add in a pop of color, I'm going to use this ribbon from the Dollar Tree. But before anything, I wanted to stress my love sign. So I took a small amount of my black chalk paint. I am doing a very light dry brush over this love sign just to make it look a little bit worn. Then I went to my block and I'm going to sand it down just to remove some edges that were rough, and I'm going to make sure to remove all of the dust off the surface, and I'm going to give this another sanding on the black area. I want to leave some of those white streaks on there, and I'm going to come back in with some more of my black chalk paint, and I'm going to do like a messy kind of second coat just to have like a variation between where the sanding block hit it and where the new paint is, just to give it a little bit more depth and variance in the color. Just to speed things up, I use my heat gun to dry the paint. And I made sure not to neglect the edges. Now I'm bringing back the ribbon. I am getting ready to place it on my round, but as I did position it where I wanted it, I realized that you can see through the ribbon the black and the white paint, and I did not want that look. So I used the same ribbon to trace where I want to add some more black chalk paint in order for everything to be nice and symmetrical and there's no variation behind the ribbon as well. So I just came in adding some more of the black paint. I didn't feel like taping it. I just really didn't want to like search for my tape. So I just, cut it like that, but it will be a lot easier if you use a strip of paint so you can paint a lot faster. Painting like this for me is very relaxing, so that's why I chose to do it this way as well as laziness. Now that the paint is dry, it's time to attach the ribbon. So I took a bead of hot glue and I run it across that line between the white and the black, and I place the edge of the ribbon onto it. Then I repeated the same process for the other side. I just tacked the corner first, and now I'm adding the hot glue to the edge of the ribbon and I am tacking it down. Now I am cutting the excess of ribbon so we are able to attach it. First I cut it so it will curve around the round easier. So I just split it in half, added some hot glue, and tacked both pieces down, making sure that everything is nice and taut. Be careful you don't get burned. Now we're going to repeat the same process with the other side. I'm just going to create the slit and add the glue and press down onto the round to make sure that we have a nice, secure, and neat seam. Now it's time to dust off the round, just making sure that everything is nice and clean. And now it's time to attach the lob sign. I use some gel super glue and some hot glue, so I'm able to continue working with this piece. And I have very quick dry time. Now it's time to upgrade the hanger. What I did was I took these black beads from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to thread them onto the hanger that already came with this round. And nope, we're not done yet. We are going to add a little bit more. I took some of these stickers from the Dollar Tree, they're wooden heart stickers, and I'm just right now just using the foam to position them. I'm not sure just yet exactly where they're all gonna go, but I do like the pink ones in the top there. And I'm going to take some of the wooden ones and paint them with my Rust-Oleum chalk paint in white. And I'm just gonna let them dry really quickly. But I have no patience, so I enlisted the help of my heat gun to help me get things done a lot quicker. Once they were both dry, I just played around with the placement and I ended up attaching a red heart in the middle. And now I'm distressing that with a little bit of black, and I'm adding in some of that apple red as well. I just wanted that red to really match with the love sign, so I added a little bit of that red onto the love sign once again, just to blend things in. Once I was happy with the placement of the hearts, I removed the foam from the bottom and I attached every single one of them with some hot glue. This day I thought I was done, but then the following day I came back and I said I need a bow. So I'm taking some more of that ribbon that I used in the middle to start up a messy bow. First thing that I did was fold it in half, and then I folded it on half long ways as well. And I'm going to cut it on an angle to create dovetails. And this is how it ended up when I was done doing that process. Now I am coming in with the leftover burlap that I used for one of the previous DIYs, and it was quite the end, so it was completely bent. So here I am trying to straighten it up so I can position it as straight as possible on top of the other ribbon. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same process and dovetail the ends. Now I'm coming in with this pink ribbon that we used for the previous DIY, and I'm going to do the same process pretty much, folding it in half on its own. I'm going to cut the section that will be long enough to crisscross with the other ones, and I'm going to also dovetail the ends for these ribbons. Then I unholsters like 3 different kinds of ribbons that I've brought from my stash downstairs, or 4 different kinds of ribbons. And I'm going to start with this one that has like edges that are little hearts, and I'm going to add it to that. And I had this one that's burlap with hearts. I'm going to also cut a little piece of that. I'm going to dovetail the ends for these ones. I dovetail the ends for pretty much every single one of the ribbons besides the one that has the heart trimming. Those were not able to do. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my first attempt of a messy bow, and I'm kind of pretty, proud of myself for being able to make it. It came out really cute. I pretty much did a crisscross. I found this method to be a little bit easier. I actually learned this method for Kathy Jo, that she did it once in one of her videos, and I always wanted to try it. Here I am doing the last piece of ribbon that I'll be doing for this, dovetailing the ends once again. I took, okay, I lied. I forgot to do the second one of the burlap with the heart. So I'm doing that one now. Again, dovetailing the ends. And I'm going to just place it on the opposite direction in which the other heart burlap one is, so that way we are evening out each of the sides. Then I took the bow, and I'm going to use that little twine that I removed off the burlap to tie this all together. So what I did is I cinched it a little bit in the middle, tied it nice and tight, tied it towards the back, and did a double knot in the back. Then I played around with the ribbons, just making sure that everything was nice and straight and it was looking as tidy as a messy bow could be. And then I removed the ends of the burlap twine that I used, snipped it off with the scissors. And now it's time to attach my bow. I used some hot glue. I attach it right at the center on top of the love sign, and I'm going to hold it in place until the paint sets. Then I took another one of those hearts, and the other painted white, and I positioned it right in the middle of the messy bow. And this is actually the end for this one. I am very satisfied with this one. It turned out so stinking cute. Look at it, guys. I just, it's much better than I imagined. I hope that you guys enjoyed these videos. I hope you love these DIYs. Let me know which one is your favorite. DIY number 1. For this project, I'm using one of these love words from the Dollar Tree, one of the doilies that come in a pack from the Dollar Tree as well, and one of these hearts from the Dollar Tree as well. Everything here is from the Dollar Tree. So I took some Mod Podge and I'm putting it on the center of the heart, and I'm placing down my doily. I just make sure that everything was nice and neat. Then I'm adding Mod Podge to the ends to make sure that those are also tacked in pretty nicely. Once I got the bottom pretty well covered, I'm going to go over the top with some Mod Podge as well, just to get Mod Podge in between all the little holes of the doily to give this a little bit more security so it does not fall apart, and it's also waterproof. Then I took a piece of paper towel and I cleaned off all the excess Mod Podge that was around, just to make everything nice and neat and cohesive. Now I'm going to be painting this word as well. And I'm using some light pink color from my studio. That believe that's the name of the paint company. And I'm just giving it this only one coat of it. I'm putting it to the side to dry. Then I'm using these clings from the Dollar Tree. I found you in Easter time, and I'm going to just stick them to the top, but I'm not going to use the clings, so I'm going to Mod Podge them down to my heart. So I just make sure to add Mod Podge, but then I was like, no, let me add it to the actual cling to make sure that all the surface is covered. So that's what I ended up doing. Just taking the Mod Podge and adding it all around the back of my window cling, and then I placed it down in the area that I wanted them to stay. Then I'm making sure that air bubbles are gone, and I'm going to repeat the process with the second cling as well. Now it's time to attach the love word to the center here. So I use some hot glue and I place it right down, angled on the doily. One of the sides of the cord came apart. I found that it was attached with a piece of tape instead of the usual plastic thing that came in the back of it. So I just added a little bit of hot glue to the area and just tacked it down for it to stay in place. And here it is. You know, most people will say here, I'm done, that's really cute. Not me, you know, I'm extra. So I'm going to take some of this leftover greenery from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to place it right there with a bit of hot glue. I just make sure not to burn myself as the glue is seeping through that hole, but I use that same glue to help me attach these two foam roses from the Dollar Tree right on there as well. Then I'm coming in with this ribbon that also came from the Dollar Tree. It is pink and satin, and I'm going to just loop it around 2 times to just create a bow. I'm cutting off it excess, and I'm going to try to put it on top of this burlap bow that I came from a different sign in the Dollar Tree. Once I'm happy with the size, I am going to take the bow and tie it in the middle with a little bit of jute cord. Friends, if you have not already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. It is free and it means the world to me. I don't know why, but that knot took forever. Once I got it settled, eventually, I cut off the excess and I cut the tails of the bow in little slants, or I don't know if you call it slants, but I don't know, diagonally. And then I took a little bit of heat and I passed it on the ends to avoid any fraying. And now that I'm happy with both of these bows, I'm going to put them on top of each other. In order to do so, I just put a tiny bit of hot glue on top of the burlap one and set the silky one on top of that one, if that makes any sense. Once the glue was set, I am going to be attaching this to my hanger. I put the bow facing down onto my table. I remove all the excess glue that came off from the other piece it originally came from, and I'm just prepping this section for it to have new glue so it can grab properly. I added some more hot glue to it. Then I placed the jute cord on top of it, make sure that it was nice and centered, and then added some more hot glue to the top. And this project is complete. What do you guys think? I like it. Let me know if it's fine the way it is, or if you would add a little bit more. I would add something to the bottom, but at the same time I like how simple it is. So I'm gonna just keep it this way. What do you guys think? Friends, this video is part of a collaboration called A Vintage Valentine. It is hosted by an amazing group of creators, creating with Indiana Jones, Grace Life DIY, DIY by Aria, just to name a few. You will find a link to their channel along with the playlist in the description box below. DIY number 2. For this project, I used this Dollar Tree sign that I already had painted for a project that I started but didn't finish. So all I did was remove the hanger, and I'm going to go ahead and sand down those areas to make sure everything is nice and, leveled. So I did that, remove all the dust, and I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of spackle to those areas in order to have a best surface to work with. I added the spackle once I had my area clean. So I just passed my fingers through it, just feeling for it, making sure that it was leveled. I did that with both spots. And once everything was nice and dry, after using my heat gun, shocker, I went back in with my sanding block and make sure that every surface was nice and smooth, because I'm going to be needing a smooth surface for the next part of this project. I also removed the dust using my little ladybug friend here. Once everything was clean, I took some of my Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the color linen white and I put it right on top of those areas. I just wanted to make sure that everything was the same tone, so I went over the entire board with just one sloppy coat of the same paint, just to make sure that everything was the same, since I was not sure if that was the same white I used. Then I took some of these decals that I got from the Dollar Tree as well. This came, I think it's like the baby section kind of stickers, and also these words from the Dollar Tree from the Valentine collection as well. And the first thing that I did was to prep the love word that I'm using for this sign. The first thing that I did was take a little bit of the, I believe it's apple red, and I'm just like, dabbing it onto the entire part of the area there, the love metal word. And I'm just making sure, I'm just going very, like dabbing more than brushing. Then I use some of this brown hazelnut, I believe it's chestnut, yes. Chestnut color from Apple Barrel, and I'm going over that red. Then I'm coming in with some metallic silver from Folk Art, right on top of that as well. And then I'm coming back in with that red, also mixing the red and the brown. I don't know if you have guessed it yet, but I am going for a rusty look. Then I use some of the silver lining. I also dab it in there. And I'm just trying, just going in layers until I find the perfect combination for that rust look that I'm going for. Once again, my trusty little heat gun, just making sure to not burn my finger. And here is how it ended up looking. I put that sign aside, and now I'm coming in with these little stickers. But first, I need to know exactly where I want to place them, so I am putting them on top like this. Once I knew exactly where I wanted them, I unstuck them from the packaging and very carefully placed them down onto my board. They were very easy to attach and very, very sticky. It's going to stay there. It didn't need any more adhesion. I used both of these on top of each other, just left a small little area. I did want to leave some space in the bottom of this board as well. Once both decals were in place, I went over to the metal heart sign, and I'm going to use some gel super glue and some hot glue to attach it to the top. However, I made sure to leave a little room at the top of the board as well. I made sure that I remove any little glue webs or excess glue, and now I'm going to come in with this ribbon from the Dollar Tree. The first thing that I did was measure exactly where I wanted to put this. I wanted to put it at the top and bottom of my sign. So I wanted to make sure that I had the same distance and that everything was straight before tacking it down. So I'm going to just go ahead and tack one side down first. And then I'm going to look at the back of the front of my sign, make sure that everything is straight also, and then go ahead and cut off the excess and tack down before double checking first again. And then once I'm sure that everything is straight, I went over with some hot glue and tack that piece down as well, using my scissors to have the glue come through the little holes to give it a little bit more security. And this is how it turned out at that end. And I just make sure to remove any excess glue from the sides, and everything here is nice and straight. Now we are going to work on the bottom of this. We're going to do the same thing. I knew exactly how much to use now, and I'm cutting off the excess, and I'm going to make sure that everything is exactly what I would like it. And we're going to go ahead with the hot glue in the back of the sign once again. Put that down, use my little scissors to help the glue go through the little heart holes there. Make sure again that it's straight. And once I am sure, I'm going to go in with hot glue and tack the other end as well towards the back. And you know very well I'm not done yet. I have more to do, so I'm going to embellish the top of this with some greenery and some flowers. So I use another pieces of leaves that I have left over from other DIYs, placed it in the middle, and then I'm adding some of the same little foam roses that I used for the previous DIY onto this one as well. And nope, I'm not done yet. I'm coming in with these laser cut hearts from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use the same pink that I used for the previous DIYs, the light pink from my studio. And I'm going to use also a little bit of the red. I'm trying to achieve that deeper pink that you see on the stickers onto this heart. So I'm going to be mixing both that pink with a little bit of red, trying to find that little fuchsia mixture to add to this. Friends, if you have not done so yet, consider subscribing. It is free and it means the world to me. As you see here, the fuchsia was becoming a little bit too deep, so I added a little bit more of that light pink just to bring it down a little bit, just to come over and keep that whole muted tone still in this project. I really like how this heart turned out. It did have different tones of pink in it, and it just, I don't know, it just brought everything together. And you already know it, I use my little heat gun to dry it up and speed up the process. This is how it turned out, and I'm going to go ahead and take some hot glue, add it to the middle of the ribbon there, and add my heart right into it. I just scraped off the excess glue that came through the holes, and this turned out so cute. But of course we need to hang it, so I am going to use some of the same ribbon that I used on the borders there and create a hanger. I simply put knots on each end of the ribbon there, and I'm going to attach it to the board using some hot glue. Then I took some masking tape and added a bit more hot glue to the area and placed the masking tape right on top of that glue to seal it in and make sure that that doesn't go anywhere. This was done with both sides. With the hanger in place, I'm coming in with some craft paper, and I'm going to cover the entire back of this piece. I just run a bead of hot glue through each side and press down onto the paper to just cover up the bottom and make this piece look a lot more finished, because most likely I will be putting it for sale. Once all sides were glued, I turned over the piece and I'm going through with my utility knife along the seam just to remove the excess paper and make it look really neat. DIY number 3. For this project, I used one of these shadow boxes from the Dollar Tree, and I just went over it with my sanding block. The edges were kind of rough, and I just wanted this to be nice and smooth. Then I came in with my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and I gave it 2 full coats to both the inside and the outside. Then I used this pack of doilies from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use one doily. I glued the doily, or I don't know what you call it, into the middle of the, I guess it's doily, into the middle of the shadow box there using some Mod Podge. I made sure that the layer of Mod Podge was a little bit thick because this doily seemed to be a little bit thicker, and just wanted to make sure that it had enough to attach the doily properly to the backing. I ended up putting Mod Podge over the entire surface because Mod Podge tends to give that like a little sheen to surfaces, so I just wanted everything to be cohesive, so I just applied it all the way around, and then I placed my doily right on there, make sure it was nice and straight, and I just kept tapping it down to make sure that it got attached, and then I added some Mod Podge on top of the doily. As well, as I was brushing this, I realized that something was lifting and I wasn't sure exactly what it was. Come to find out, I had 3 doilies on there instead of just 1. So I removed the 2 extra doilies and I added more Mod Podge over the 1 doily and made sure that that was properly adhered and ready for the next step. Now I'm coming in with some more of these foam roses from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to go ahead and try to make them look more as roses that are still not completely opened. I just wanted this to have a little bit more of a controlled shape to it. This will make the next step a lot easier. So mainly what I did was just add hot glue along the inside of the rose and press it down to create that, feeling of a tighter rose that have not fully bloomed, which is perfect for this project. Then I hot glued the rose buds to the edges of that solid heart shape in the middle of the doily. I made sure to keep the rose buds very close to each other to make sure we had the best control on the shape. As you see here, I was trying to be very mindful of making sure that that dip is very, noticeable when I'm adding the flowers in, to make sure that this does look like a heart made out of roses. Then I created a mixture of water and some of this chestnut paint from Apple Barrel, and I'm going to be adding just a little bit just to make it a little bit murky. I then took some of this ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just checking to see exactly how much I need to go around this shadow box, and I'm going to take that length and it's going to go right into that water. I am trying to make it look worn and old, like just, like old lace that's been around for a while. Once the lace was dry, I took it and I'm going to put it all around the perimeter of this box. I'm just going to use some hot glue to attach it all around. I found it easier to work in smaller sections, so I just add some to the top. I clip the excess and went over, put the other piece on top of that, put my hot glue down and cut off my excess. And make sure that you tack down the little ends at the bottom as well, just to make sure that that lace is as straight and as taut as possible, so you can really appreciate the little hearts. Then I thought this little bow would be adorable here in the corner, but I ended up not liking it. It was just, too light. So I ended up removing it later on in the video. But for now, something else was missing. So I added one of these hearts from the Dollar Tree into the middle there. And I still felt like something was missing. I didn't feel like it was complete. So I took this pink ribbon from the Dollar Tree and I created an awareness bow, cinched it in the middle, and I'm using some of this cord to tie it right there so everything is in place. Then I dovetail both the ends. And place the bow where the other one was before. And it is finished. This is how it turned out. I really, really love it. It is really cute. Not my favorite of the bunch, but close to it. Let me know what you guys think. If you also love it, if there's something different you will do. I can't wait to hear which is your favorite. Guys, as always, thank you for watching. Be blessed, be a blessing, and craft responsibly. And here are all my social media links if you like to follow me. And hey, don't forget about the playlist. Bye.